Welcome to episode 175 of the Sports Marketing Machine podcast, powered by Revelocity Sports. I'm your host, Jeremy Neisser. This is the podcast that helps you sell more tickets and grow your fan base. Today, we're going to start a new 3-part episode series I'm calling The Fan Journey. And by the end of these 3 episodes, you are going to have a completely different view of how your marketing operates. No new tactics, just a new lens. And I want to ask you something before we get into it, and I really want you to sit with this for just a second. If I handed you a whiteboard marker right now and I said, hey, draw me your fan marketing process. Draw me everything that happens. From the moment someone first hears about your team, to the website, to buying tickets, to them eventually become a season ticket holder. Could you do it? Most marketing directors cannot. And that's not a knock on you or anyone else. It's simply the reality of how sports marketing has been taught or not taught for many years. You've learned that you need to send emails. You've learned to run promotions. You've learned to post on social media. You learned to update your website. But nobody ever showed you how everything connects together. The map, how it all connects together. Once you see it, you're going to look at your marketing completely differently. Let's get into it. Here's what I noticed after working in sports for 20 plus years and working with a bunch of teams for the last several years. When you ask marketing directors what their marketing strategy is, they describe a list of things that they do. Well, we send emails, we run social ads, we take our marketing dollars and we put it into Meta. We do theme nights, we have a post-game survey, we offer group packages, we do X, we do Y, we enhance the fan experience by doing this. All of those things are great, but they're describing tactics, not a strategy. They're describing activities, not a system. And here's the thing. There is a massive difference between doing marketing and running a marketing system. I'm going to say it again. Huge difference than doing marketing and running a marketing system. Doing marketing is sending an email blast when you've got a homestand coming up or running ads because you have a homestand coming up. Running a marketing system is making sure that every fan, from the moment they buy their first ticket, is being guided intentionally and automatically toward their second ticket, their third ticket, a mini plan, and eventually a season ticket package. Most teams are doing the first thing. They're spending marketing dollars. They're working their tails off to get people to buy that first ticket. And then it gets kind of messy. Teams aren't really doing the second part. They're working twice as hard for half of the results. So here's what I want you to understand. This is the big idea for today's episode. Your team is already running the fan journey, whether you designed it or not, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you've got your arms wrapped around it and drew it on a whiteboard or not. Your team's already doing it, but you're not guiding them. You're letting fans fall out on their own. I'm going to say it again. The fan journey isn't something you build. It's something that's already happening. Your job is to stop letting it happen by accident. So let's talk about what the journey actually looks like. I call it the fan journey, and it has 5 stages. Stage number 1 is capture. This is when a fan first hears about you and buys a ticket. For minor league baseball, they sell a lot of single game tickets, right? Could be from a social ad, and this is the same for hockey or college or what have you, right? Could be from a social ad, could be from a radio spot, could be from the billboard, could be from a lot of different things. Could have came because their friend invited them, or a Google search. Doesn't matter how they got there. What matters is they bought a ticket, they showed up, and you now have their information. Stage 2 in the fan journey is no. This is where things get interesting because now you actually have data on this person. You know what they bought, You know when they came, you have their email address, you probably have their phone number, and if you've done a post-game survey, you might know something about why they came, what they enjoyed, and who they came with. Most teams treat this data like a filing cabinet. It goes in, sits there, and nothing happens with it. But for teams that are doing this right, the know stage is where the relationship actually begins. Because you're not just collecting data, you're understanding it to understand who this fan is and what they actually care about. Stage 3 is called respond. This is where you put your knowledge about the fan to work. You're sending this fan relevant content, not an e-blast that's got everything under the sun in there of all the things happening over the next week at your arena or ballpark or your pitch or what have you, right? The communication that feels to them should feel like it was written for them, because it was. Email journeys triggered by their purchase, a text message after the game, a one more game offer timed around when they are most likely to buy. That's the respond stage, and it's where most of the automation actually lives. Stage 4 is called return. The fan had a great time. Now, how do you get them to come back? This is where win-back campaigns live. Lapsed fan reactivation, mini-plan offers, second game campaigns. The whole goal of this specific stage, return, is to convert a single game buyer into a repeat customer. Because we all know it's a whole lot easier to sell someone a mini-plan if you've been to multiple games. And stage 5 I've called grow. This is the fan who's gone from a single game buyer to a multiple games and then turned into potentially a flex plan holder and to a season ticket holder, right? So kind of all into that bucket of turning a single game buyer to a mini plan, or a mini plan to a season, or a multi-game buyer to a season ticket, right? They're not just coming to games, they're invested. They're part of your community. Their lifetime value has compounded because your team kept showing up for them at every stage of the journey. So I'm going to go through these again. There's the capture portion where you are capturing the fan, the single game buyer, right? The next step is know. You're learning a little bit more about this fan. Sure, you got email, you got phone, you've got when they purchased, and then you're sending out a survey and you understand why they purchased. You've got that. The next step is respond. Respond is the part where most teams are really looking to really drive more ticket sales, because respond is where you're putting that knowledge to work. You're sending that fan relevant content. It's not just an e-blast, but you're going and you're sending them relevant content that would be relevant to them. So a grandmother who brought their grandbabies to the game should get information about doing things just like that, creating memories with their grandbabies at the game. Someone who's brought their kids out to the ballpark or the arena or the pitch are getting more information about creating more memories with their kids at the ballpark. Someone who came out just to have cold beers with their friends on a Thursday night or a Saturday night or what have you are getting more relevant content that's specific to them. The next stage is return. So return is, hey, we got them. We know their information. We've got their data, but we're sending them information that's win back. We've got lapsed fan reactivations. We're potentially sending them a mini plan offer, some sort of second game campaign. We're trying to get them to return. And then the fifth step is called grow. And this is where we're trying to turn folks from a multi-game buyer to a mini plan holder or a mini plan to season. That's kind of where the big jump takes place. And that's really great. So that's the map there. Capture, know, respond, return, and grow. So why does this all matter? Now, I want to be really direct about something. The reason why I'm introducing this framework isn't just so that you have a nice way to think about your marketing. It's because this framework is actually a diagnostic tool. It's like when the AC guy comes to your house and it's been 100 degrees and your AC is not working. He's got a tool that says, hey, this isn't working or this is working. He's got a tool that understands what's not working. That's exactly what this is too. This framework is a diagnostic tool. So when I look at a team's marketing operation, I'm not looking at their email open rates first. I'm not looking at their social following. I'm asking, well, where are fans leaking out of this journey? Because they are leaking somewhere. Every team's got leaks. And hopefully AC, you don't have a leak there. But every team has leaks where they're leaking fans. And it's almost always in the same places. But here's the thing. Most teams don't know where their leaks are because they've never mapped out the journey. They've never drew this out to say, hey, this is actually the process that we're trying to take our fans through. They've never looked at their marketing as a system with inputs and outputs and drop-off points. They just know that a lot of fans come once and they never come back. And they assume it's because of the product or the bad weather or losing season or competition from other entertainment options, right? It isn't necessarily them looking at their marketing and saying, we downloaded this list of single game buyers, we uploaded this list, and we just started e-blasting them, and we got open rates at 30%, right? Or 20% or 15% or whatever it is. Well, sometimes that's true, but a lot of the time, the fan would come back. They just never got the right message at the right time. And that's a systems problem, not a product problem. That's not a weather problem. That's not a competition in your community problem, because you can overcome those things. But if you have a system, you have a process of how things are taking place, it becomes a whole lot easier to look at your marketing and say, hey, here's what's actually happening here. So what I want you to do this week or sometime soon, pull out a piece of paper or a whiteboard or really whatever works for you and map out your own fan journey. Start with a capture. When a fan buys a ticket, what happens next? What does your team do with that information? What does the fan receive 24 hours or 72 hours after the game or even the week after? Then move to know. Do you actually know who your fans are? Do you have personas? Do you have survey data? Or do you have a database full of names, email addresses, and phone numbers that are essentially strangers? They're just names in a spreadsheet. Then the next step I want you to take a look at is the respond bucket part of this circle here. Are you sending relevant, personalized communication? Are you sending the same email to everyone on your list? And every single time when you have something to promote, and then you're hoping that, hey, somebody's going to buy something, because it's a numbers game. I got 10,000 people on my list. I'm going to send this out. If I sell 2,000 tickets, that's great, right? Then the return. Do you have a system, not a campaign, an actual system for getting lapsed fans back? Something that runs automatically whether you're in season or not. Then grow. How are you converting repeat buyers into plan holders? Do you have a path for that? Of course you are downloading multi-game buyers at the end of the season and you're smiling and dialing and trying to get them to buy a mini plan or a season ticket next year, right? Of course you've got that, but what else do you have? You have to have other things to be able to convert repeat buyers into plan holders, in addition to when someone's smiling and dialing. You don't have to fix everything at once. Just map it out so you see it clearly, because once you can see the journey, you can actually start to fix leaks. And once you can see the leaks, you start plugging them, and things just start to operate a whole lot easier and cleaner. All right. Episode 2 of this 3-part series, we're going to talk about exactly where those leaks show up. And I think you're going to recognize your team in what I describe. Because after working with teams in just about every league and market size, I can tell you this. The leaks aren't random. They happen in the same places for the same reasons on almost every single team that I've worked for, personally worked for, and worked with. If this episode has hit home for you, please take a moment and leave a rating or review on Spotify or app. It would mean the world to me, but more importantly, it would get this podcast in front of people who are just like you, trying to sell more tickets and grow their fan base. Until next time.